You don't need a fully functional program or a fancy website that you're probably paying too much money for to talk about the work that you do. You just need to be clear on why you do what you do, and people will naturally want to learn more about your nonprofit. Hi, I'm Ashley Wells of Lotus 9, where we help small and brand new nonprofits better position themselves to obtain foundation grant funding without burnout, without gatekeeping, or trying to figure it out on your own and wasting time. In this video, I'm going to show you how to talk about your mission even if it feels messy or incomplete. This is important so that funders, community leaders, and potential collaborators can still connect with what you're doing based on why it matters. We're going to go over 3 points today. The first one is leading with your why, using language that shows your nonprofit is in transition, and the third one, having a 30-second pitch, intro, whatever you want to call it, ready to go when you're out in the community. So in my line of work, I attend a lot of workshops and events put on by funders that nonprofit founders and leaders attend. At these events, I'm able to connect with both sides of the funding fence, both the people who receive funding and the people who grant funding. But it's one thing that burns me up at every event I go to. When nonprofit founders, and you can tell the newer ones, when they're given the opportunity to share who they are and discuss what their nonprofit does, they take over the event and they throw a bunch of word salad at everybody. And by word salad, I mean they just spew out a bunch of stuff. It doesn't make sense and they're rushing to get through it. And then everybody's just standing there looking like, what did you just say? But all of this usually starts with the one question. Tell us about your nonprofit. I honestly don't think it's intentional that they do this. I believe most founders are not given the opportunity to share information about their nonprofit and the work they do. So when they do get a chance, they go on and on and on and on. The second part of it is I know they don't know how to speak effectively about their nonprofit. I've witnessed people talk for upwards of 5 to 10 minutes, and I still really don't understand what they do and what their nonprofit does. And this is usually because they're rambling on and giving just random information, or they're giving too much information and it's too much for the average person like me to digest. And this is something that I addressed in one of the modules of my online course, Brick by Brick, Building Relationships to Get Funding. If you want to learn more about Brick by Brick, and actually because enrollment is open right now, click on the link below in the show notes. In Brick by Brick, I show you how to present your nonprofit in a few different settings so that you're always prepared if you're approached or if someone approaches you. And the biggest part of speaking about your nonprofit in this manner is sharing just enough information for people to be intrigued and want to learn more about what you do. And you want to make sure what you're sharing is engaging so people can potentially want to collaborate with you and ask more questions about your work. So the takeaway here is if you get a chance to promote your nonprofit, keep it short and sweet so people can remember. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the video. Our first point, you have to lead with your why because you don't have your program figured out all the way. When you're still figuring out how to carry out your mission, you need to focus on your why you do what you do when you're speaking to other people about your nonprofit. Funders, potential partners, and even the community will still care about why you're doing this more than the exact logistics of how it gets done. And this actually allows you to share the origin story of your nonprofit. So I have an example. I sat on the review committee, on the grant review committee where we had to select one grantee. I sat on a grant review committee where we had to select one grantee from 2 different candidates to receive funding. We gave them the option of doing a presentation in front of our committee, or the committee would go to their organization to do a site visit. One of the candidates did a presentation for our community, for our group, and it was awesome. During the first part of the presentation, he shared his personal connection to the work that he does and how it led him to start his nonprofit. By the time he got to the nuts and bolts of the program, his story was so engaging and passionate, I was already on board with my vote based just on the origin story. I was literally almost in tears and ready to dump out my purse to make a donation outside of the funding. He wasn't a polished professional speaker, but he was able to be engaging enough and show his passion for his work enough that when he shared the actual program and the particulars, he could have said almost anything to me because I was already sold based on his origin story and the passion that he was able to display. In this example, this gentleman actually had his programming figured out, but what I want you to take away from the story is that he stood out because of the work he does and how he presented it. So I have a simple framework to help you share your why when you're speaking with others about your nonprofit. I started this work because I blank happening in my community and I couldn't ignore it. I started this nonprofit because I saw blank happening in my community and I couldn't ignore it. So here's a specific example to kind of fill in those blanks so you can get an idea. I started mentoring young women in my neighborhood because I saw so many aging out of foster care without support. So in this example, you see what the adverse activity that was happening was, well, the way this person, the person sharing the story, what they saw was, what the person sharing the story wanted to do is mentor young women in their neighborhood because they saw so many young women aging out of foster care without support. You don't need a curriculum to say that. You need a little practice, as you can see. You just need conviction, which will help people get on board with your mission. So let's go to the second point. Use language that shows your organization is in transition, but use this language with confidence. You don't have to pretend that your nonprofit is further along than it actually is. So my advice to you is don't lie about it, because with just a little bit of research and asking around, most people can discover the truth, and you don't want to leave that impression on anyone. Just use language that signals that you're in process and you're open to growth. So I have a few examples to help you out. Right now, we're focusing on, let's say, developing/finding a new curriculum. Our early efforts are showing blank. We're testing a model that will tell us blank. We're in the process of trying to expand our outreach. All four of those examples show that you're in transition and that you're working on your process right now and it's not finalized. Using this language keeps you honest. And anyone that you're talking to, especially funders, will appreciate your honesty and that kind of clarity. So here's another tip. People invest in potential and purpose. Be honest about both. You never know who you may come across, and they may have access to resources that can help you move your mission forward. But if they don't know the truth, they don't have the opportunity to potentially help. So with the last example I gave of we're in the process of trying to expand our outreach, what if you're speaking to someone that's in the process of putting together a nonprofit resource fair and they're looking for someone who offers services in the arena that you're offering services in? Perfect example. You never know who you're speaking to, so just be honest. All right, let's move to the third point. Keep a 30-second story on deck. And by story, you can mean pitch or intro, an elevator pitch, whatever you want to call it, but have some kind of 30-second or less introduction ready to go. So essentially, all you need to do is respond to, what do you do? When I'm out in the community events, I get asked this a lot. Either they ask, what do you do? Or what organization are you with? So grab a pen and paper. I want you to jot this down. Here's a fill in the blank script that can help you answer that what do you do question. We support blank by blank in order to blank. I know there's a lot of blanks. So we support a specific group. You insert whatever group you're providing services to by what you're currently offered. There you enter the services that you are providing in order to get some goals. So here's a filled in example for you. We support teen moms in Chicago by offering peer mentorship and pop-up events because we believe they deserve community and resources even if we're still growing. So I'll say that again. We support teen moms in Chicago by offering peer mentorship and pop-up events because we believe they deserve community and resources even if we're still growing. So in that example, the specific group is teen moms in Chicago. The services that are being offered are peer mentorship and pop-up events. And the reason why they're offering them is because this organization believes that teen moms in Chicago deserves community and resources. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be true and short and to the point. Okay, I got a bonus tip for you. I know I initially said 3, but I wanted to throw one more in there. You have to be able to show progress. You don't need a brochure or a budget to show that your nonprofit is gaining momentum. At some workshops I've attended, you're generally put into groups, and I can't tell you how impersonal and a waste it is for nonprofit founders and leaders that I've been put in groups with to just shove a flyer or a brochure in my face or just leave them on the table without having a basic introductory conversation about what they do and what they have to share. Instead of doing this, share stories about your progress. You can talk about what's working and any lessons you've learned thus far and any pivots you've had to make with establishing your nonprofit. When you're in the early stages, this is really all you have, so you might as well share it. To illustrate my point a little further, here's an example. Last month, here's an example that an imaginary nonprofit may say. Last month, we helped 5 families get connected to housing resources. It was small, but it still mattered. We learned once the families were placed where they still needed basic furnishings. As a result, we're going to try to find a nonprofit to connect with and potentially collaborate with that provides these basic furnishings so we can make referrals to them in the future. Perfect example of getting out there, getting the work done, figuring out what you still need to do, and making the effort to address the shortcomings that you may come across. Okay, so let's cap today's video. So the key points when you're starting out are: lead with your why, not your what. This is how you get people engaged in your mission. Use language that shows whatever stage your nonprofit is in. It's important to be honest. Have a 30-second story, introduction, whatever, prepared that is clear and honest and memorable. Keep it simple enough so that you can remember it and also that the person you're sharing with will be able to remember it when you guys leave. And finally, don't be afraid to share your progress. Rome wasn't built in a day, and your nonprofit isn't going to be successful overnight. So I got some action items that you can get started on that kind of help you utilize some of the stuff you learned today. Number 1, you can write a sentence that describes why you do this work. And I recommend you share it with a couple people who may not be that familiar with what you do and get some feedback from them. Second, you can draft a 30-second introductory story or intro elevator pitch on why you started your nonprofit using the template that I shared. Here it is again. I started this work because I saw blank happening in my community, and as a result, blank. And finally, practice saying your why out loud, even if it doesn't feel very smooth at first. The more you say it, the more it'll sound better. The more you say it, the better it'll sound. So remember, you don't need to wait till everything is figured out to show up and to be seen in your community. Your mission becomes clearer by speaking up, sharing it, listening, and paying attention to what resonates with other people. Don't forget your story matters. Now, if you feel like this video helped you feel a little more confident when talking about your nonprofit, leave a comment below and sign up for the Lotus 9 email list. In this community, in the Lotus 9 email community, we drop weekly tips to help you grow your nonprofit with clarity and confidence. And of course, like and subscribe if you want more videos like this one. And if you have any recommended topics that you'd like to see me discuss, you can put those in the comments as well. See you next time.